I am Ajipinto Drame, and this is QTV Midday News coming to you live from our studios along Keraba Avenue, and thanks for joining us. Our top stories. Taxi drivers plying the Westfield Keraba Avenue called on the authorities to help rehabilitate the poorly maintained feeder road that leads to Westfield. We visit Coastal Road Market to find out how the recent Joint Police and Roads Authority initiative, Operation Clear the Streets, is impacting vendors. We speak to fans of the drink about what lies behind the popularity of Cafe Touba. In international news, the ECOWAS Parliament is meeting in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire to address the electricity challenge in the sub-region. The North Central African country of Chad celebrates 61 years of independence from France. In sports news, veteran sports journalist Tijan Masane Cisse reflects on Gambian football's past and tells us how foundations were laid for today's football success. Those were our main headlines, now the news in detail. Now, taxi drivers plying the Westfield Keraba Avenue Road have called on the authorities to help rehabilitate the feeder road that leads to the Bakau garage at Westfield, which is in a very bad state. Babu Kasi reports.
Hundreds of taxi drivers ply this Keraba Avenue Tower Road, picking and dropping off commuters at various locations towards traffic lights without much trouble. However, these drivers face a lot of challenges when coming back. They are diverted to a feeder road leading to Bakau Garage at Westfield. The situation is at its worst during the rainy season. The drivers say they dare not go straight to Westfield roundabout because the police will arrest them, as only private vehicles are allowed to use that route. We followed these drivers to see how they maneuver on a bumpy road full of potholes and stagnant water to reach the garage. Yoba Nyancho, a commuter who frequently uses this road, told us that the authorities should do something to fix this road.
Definitely, this road is very bad because on the way we are coming, I have told my colleague that hadn't been this road is constructed, it will minimize the pressure of there at the Westfield Johnson. So this road must be constructed. Definitely the KMC guys, let them come and construct this road because this road, the number of cars are passing here in a day, it was uncountable. We are in a rainy season, maybe this time might be difficult for them to do it, but when the rainy season is finished, then they can start it.
Mustafa Suso is among the head of drivers at the traffic lights Senegambia taxi garage. Suso recalled that he has been at this garage for 18 years and nothing has been done to fix the road.
We are suffering in this garage, especially taxi owners. If you have a proper look at the setup, you will realize that we have two lanes, one heading to Senegambia and the other to the traffic lights. If all these vehicles are lined up here, plus the vans that go to Bakau, the place is always crowded, and that affects the cooperative junction. Our drivers suffer a lot during the rainy season, using this bad road to arrive here. They are told not to use the other road, and yet they refuse to fix this bad road, which is not fair. The authorities know what we are going through because most of them use this road. So I want to believe that they are just ignoring us.
The next garage we visited was the Manjai garage at Westfield. Here, the head of the garage, Samba Cisse, had this to say.
This has been an issue for a long time, since the former government until now. The former government brought heavy machines to level the road, but was not possible because there are pipes buried underground, and they could not do much, so they had to go and bring 3 trucks of gravel to fill the holes. With this current government, nothing has been done to solve the problem, not even the mayor of KMC. They all ignored us. The condition of the road is very bad and is causing a lot of damage to cars plying these roads. But what can we do? If any driver is caught without proper documentation, he will be arrested by the police and charged. But also, after having all your documents and paying your tax, they are now preventing us from using certain roads without justification.
Most of the taxi drivers we spoke to off camera say police officers denied them use of the direct road to Westfield, saying they have to use the one-way street. They further said the authorities are treating them unfairly. Babukar Si, QTV News.
Following the launch of Operation Clear Our Streets by the police and the National Roads Authority to remove vehicles and other objects blocking our road, QTV visited Coastal Road Market to assess the impact of the operation. The exercise that started in Birkama in the West Coast region is gaining momentum. At the Coastal Road Market, there had been some encouragement into the road, resulting in traffic congestion and the risk of accidents. Stalls and tables installed by vendors were removed. This has prompted the vendors to come back to the highway to sell their products, with some blaming the lack of space inside the market. Mam Cherno Sen is a street vendor who sits in the market to sell but encourages onto the highway at noon.
I truly support the initiative because where we sell is close to the road. A vehicle can plunge into vendors at any time. I'm in support of this, but let the authorities provide a safe place for us, because you cannot remove us without giving us an option.
Waste management is a serious problem here. Jenoma Jallo used to have a canteen beside the road for 14 years. She says that when stalls were erected by the road, the place was better because vendors used to clean the waste or pay wheelbarrow users to clear it. Since Friday, when we were removed from our stalls, we went inside the market to sell our wares. But wherever we place our wares is occupied by others. The market is very congested. We can't sell inside the market. Ibrahim Anjay, who has been selling in the market since it was set up in 2007, shares his thoughts on Operation Clear the Streets.
Just to make things clear, the people on the road have places in the market, but they don't want to sell inside the market because they believe they won't make sales. The correct thing is that we should be selling at respective stalls without obstructing anyone. Let us speak the truth. This market is ours. We must develop it and not leave everything to the government.
Ajibintu Drame, QTV News. Away from Operation Clear Our Roads, now Cafe Touba is a coffee beverage that is a popular traditional drink in Senegal, Guinea-Bissau and in the Gambia. We went to find out from France why this coffee drink is a choice for many. Zainab Chow tells us more.
Cafe Touba is named after the city of Touba in Senegal. It is a popular coffee in the Gambia. Many prefer to drink it in the mornings, and we wanted to know why this was so. Mohamed Touré loves Cafe Touba.
Cafe Touba dal dafa nek li nga xamantene dal dega dal mun naa wane choice Senegal la jógee dal mu ñëw fi waaye dal.
The coffee is from Senegal and Gambians also love it. No matter how hot the sun is, we still buy the coffee because it makes us active.
Sekou Sane also expressed his love for the coffee.
I drink it every morning and many people like it. When I drink it in the morning, it makes me active.
Ngora Sen is another fan of the coffee.
We are Murids. We don't smoke. We don't drink alcohol, but we drink the coffee because it is our power, and it is brought to us by selling Touba as a gift.
Njaga Bajan, Cafe Touba seller, said business is good in the Gambia.
It is a good business. We thank God because we get a lot of things through the cafe business. We don't smoke. We don't lie, but instead, we sell coffee.
Njaga Bajan further explains how Cafe Touba is made and the ingredients.
We bring the coffee powder from Touba. That's where it is roasted and pounded into powder.
Nar Job, the landlord of the Murid Masjid, said it has become a tradition in the masjid to give Cafe Touba to anyone who comes to the masjid.
Anyone who comes here, the first thing that we give you is the coffee to drink. That is followed by anything we have in the kitchen.
In Arabic, Touba means happiness. The drink was introduced to Senegal and made popular by Islamic spiritual leader Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba Mbacké when he returned from exile in Gabon in 1902. Today, it is sold on street corners and in the markets and shared among family and friends. For QTV News, I am Zainab Chow.
From that story, we will go with a short commercial break. Still to come, we have more stories. Do stay tuned.
maa ngi fine
si loo nekk
maa ngi nii rek
yow yaa ngi toog ni mel ni ku amut liggéey xanaa jeexaluloo sa course bi
man jeexal naa suma course bi waaye maa ngi bëgg a commencer suma liggéey bi mu ngi mel ni bagage yi yëpp a seer maa ngi toog
xanaa demuloo inko
lan moo inko
da nga bëgg a xam lan mooy inko waaw jógal ñu fii mooy inko soo ñëwee suñ place looy njëkk a bàyyi xel mooy inko
maanaam INGCO
waaw kay am na nag ci dëkk bi fii place yu bari ñu ngi jël suñ kolo bi di ko mbuboo waa pire ji fii la bu ko jaawaale soo ñëwee rek seetal brand bi lii mooy di inko su nekkee kapinta nga maçon fiita mécanique bi sax kaa ñu dugg si biir
soo waa ji kontaan naa de
lii mooy inko soo fi ñëwee rek kontaan fii nag Jimpex mooy seen maakaan bu mag bi waaw soo demee Sukuta traffic light ñu ngi fa amee tamit beneen branch
maanaam Sukuta traffic light am nañ fa beneen branch
am nañ fa beneen branch ak inko aduna bi mu ngi ci sa loxo
Welcome back. Now in international news. Members of the ECOWAS Parliament are meeting in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire to address the electricity challenge in the sub-region, which has hindered the development of member countries. Aliou Cisse reports.
The theme for the meeting is ensuring energy efficiency in West Africa with emphasis on innovation, active involvement of the private sector and citizen participation. The meeting, which opened on Tuesday, is convened by the Parliament's Joint Committee on Energy and Mines, Industry and Private Sector, Agriculture, Environment, Natural Resources and Infrastructure. Members will use the meeting to strategize how to end uneven distribution and the underexploited use of energy in the ECOWAS region, even though it has significant energy resources and regional policies. Sidi Mohamed Tunis, Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, observed that the poor electricity supply in the sub-region is discouraging foreign investors. According to him, the rate of access to electricity in the sub-region is one of the lowest in the world.
Numbers of scholars, inventors, geniuses, in short, sheer talents being lost by Africa as a result of lack of energy. These examples that I have just given unfortunately concerns more than 60% of the population of our region. Even in our major cities, industries lack reliable and affordable energy. There we say bluntly that today energy security is a matter of survival for companies. I mean a matter of survival given the cost of energy and its accessibility.
On a different issue for the Community Parliament, Speaker Tunis called on Attorney Generals in member states to organize an urgent meeting to put an end to what he described as an ugly trend for member states to be disrespecting the judgments of the ECOWAS Court of Justice with impunity. The latest such incident being the judgment that Cape Verde should release Alex Saab, a Colombian businessman with close ties to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who has been held in Cape Verde since June 2020 at the request of the USA.
Here, I wish to refer to the continuous non-compliance of the rulings of the Community Court of Justice by member states and other major actors within the region. Respect for the rule of law, of which total compliance with court judgments is an integral part, is a major symbol of democracy. It's a major pillar of measuring how mature a community's democracy is. Courts are the last hope of the common man on the streets. ECOWAS cannot afford to establish a community court after having adopted all legal instruments to that effect, only for its member states to continue disrespecting its judgment with impunity.
Fuga Bubukor, chairman of the Joint Committee, emphasized the need for a concrete policy before the end this year on energy efficiency in the region. For Zen Kasibro, president of the ECOWAS Commission, the Commission is committed to ensuring energy sufficiency in the sub-region. The Speaker of the Parliament of Cote d'Ivoire urged members to come out with strong recommendations and policies to ensure integrated and sufficient energy supply. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
On this date in 1960, Chad gained self-rule from its colonial masters France under the rule of Francois Tombalbaye. Aliou Cissé again.
Chad is at the center of the African continent, and its harsh climate has earned the title the Dead Heart of Africa. Home to close to 10 million people, this vast, sparsely populated country gained independence from its colonial masters France on 11 August 1960 under the rule of Francois Tombalbaye. But the euphoria of independence was short-lived. Tombalbaye proved to be an autocratic leader, as he almost immediately after independence banned all political parties, fomenting unrest and paving the way for what followed nearly 4 decades of civil war. Violence was endemic that when Tombalbaye died in a military coup, he had a rifle in his hand. The violence continued, often inflamed by Chad's neighbors, notably Libya, which attempted on several occasions to annex some parts of Chad. Hissène Habré, a new leader, came into power in 1982, regaining control of the country, but he too ruled with an iron fist. Under Habré, close to 20,000 people were killed and many more disappeared. In 1990, Idriss Déby, a military commander, took control of the country, ending Habré's rule. Under Déby, some progress was made. Multi-party politics returned to Chad, giving a semblance of freedom to its citizens, but there is still room for improvement. Déby, one of Africa's longest-serving leaders, died in April this year at the age of 68 from injuries sustained during a clash with rebels. His son, General Mohamed Kaka Déby Itno, succeeded him. He had promised democratic elections in 18 months, but opposition leaders have described it as a coup. Independence, for many Chadians, represents very little, as they didn't fought for it as other countries did. One thing that remained the same is the influence of Chad's colonial master, France. This persistent instability has hugely affected Chad's economy, which relied primarily on arable and livestock farming, as well as cotton export to France. And the discovery of oil promised to transform the country, but constant instability and lack of rule of law kept investors away. So it was only in the year 2000, with the backing of the World Bank, exploitation began. But misplaced priorities saw little benefit to the people from their natural resources. In just over half a century since independence, the country is known for decades of war, poverty, and trouble with its neighbors like Sudan. Chadians will use the day to reflect on how far the country has come as an independent nation. Happy independence. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
Now in sports news. Veteran sports journalist Tijan Masani Cissé reflects on Gambian football's past, saying there were periods in which some clubs did not show up for matches. He made this remark in an interview with QTV on the Q Sports show. Our sports reporter Momodu Kajaga tells us more.
He calls it the revival of Gambian football, giving it a new face between 1975 to 1985. As a football commentator at the time, Tijan Masani Cissé says the country's football evolved after a restructuring of the administration, especially the Football League competition.
The first division, prior to that, we've had teams that did not show up even for games. We had teams that came in with 7 players. So they restructured the FA with 6, 8 teams and then reintroduced the second and third division. You know, that's how Hawks came to the first division. So what they did right away was to put in place mechanisms that would develop the game. When they curtailed the number of teams in the first division to 6, it became a very competitive league.
One of the international matches played by the then Gambia national team, called the Gambia 11, was against Ghana in Accra in 1977, as they prepared to host the Africa Cup of Nations the following year. Tijan says the match made headline in the Ghanaian Daily Graphics newspaper because of the scoreline.
In 1977, and they were preparing for the Nations Cup, so they invited the Gambia to go to Accra. We flew into Accra and they beat us by 6-1. The Daily Graphic ran a headline story, a bag full of goals. And that really just like pushed the needle And they're like, that's not going to happen again.
The veteran commentator went further to describe Gambia's participation in the 1979 William J.R. Talbot Fraternity Tournament, where the team reached the final of the tournament as a turning point in the game.
We lost by a lone goal. But it climaxed Gambian football, because that night when that team arrived at Banjul International Airport, to see the number of people that came out to welcome the boys, you know, and these were boys that were only given $50 for their pocket money.
Tijan urged the government and football stakeholders to honor the legends of Gambian football now rather than do it posthumously.
We played the big teams. You know, when Hearts of Oaks was Hearts of Oaks, Walidan beat them by a Malamin Baji goal. You know, we seen Thomas Kono here, SFI blazing his net, you know, with Tatao and Iboko and Mangashan and all those guys. Karol Yaounde came here. And had it been before like a torrential rain in Yaounde, they'd have been beaten.
Over 4 decades since those events of which Tijan Masane Cissé reflected on what happened, Gambia football has indeed evolved with a maiden AFCON qualification this year. Players of that generation may not have achieved that accolade, but have laid a foundation which has shaped today's game and the future. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Before we end, here is a recap of our main headlines. Taxi drivers plying the Westfield Keraba Avenue Road have called on authorities to help rehabilitate the poorly maintained feeder road that leads to Westfield. We visited Coastal Road Market to find out how the recent Joint Police and Roads Authority initiative, Operation Clear the Streets, is impacting vendors. We spoke to fans of the drink about what lies behind the popularity of Cafe Touba. In international news, the ECOWAS Parliament is meeting in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire to address the electricity challenge in the sub-region. The North Central African country of Chad celebrates 61 years of independence from France. In sports news, veteran sports journalist Tijan Masane Cissé reflects on Gambian football's past and told us how foundations were laid for today's football success. Well, that's it from me in today's Midday News. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.